this morning. We are actually honored to have you here this morning. We appreciate your presence. Welcome to APA, the home of happiness. We are here for you. And just before we kick off our webinar today, of which we are very, very honored to have one of the best cardiologists in the country, before I invite him, I'm going to invite our own Jemima Mbuga, who is the head of clinical services at APA Insurance, just to share with us what APA means by telling us the home of happiness. What do we enjoy? What do we receive when we join the APA Insurance team? So karibu sana Jemima. I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear. The floor is yours.
A very good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for all of us who've already logged in, the early birds. Thank you so much for joining us into this very transformative conversation that we are going to be having today for the next 1.5 hours. Thank you for all the APA members and all the non-APA members. We all invite you into today's webinar. My name is Jemima Mbogwa. I'm just going to take you through a very short uh, presentation about APA and what APA is about. And because today we are talking about lifestyle diseases and wellness, I think it is important that we also just mention a few programs that we have as APA that supports the wellness of our clients. So therefore, I'm just going to take you through 5 slides that will tell us a little bit more about our programs. So APA Insurance is a group. As a group, has 5 entities. We have the life entity, we have the general insurance entity, and we also have the health insurance entity, and as well as investment and assets. Today we are focusing on the medical side, which is the health side, and therefore we are going to just talk about the five wellness programs that we have. We have value proposition in the wellness space, and some of the things that we have put together for our members so that we ensure that our health is optimal. We have a program dubbed the Chronic Care Program here at APA, and this program supports all our clients who have long-term illnesses that require long-term management, and that would be conditions like diabetes, hypertension, it would be conditions like cancer, conditions that require long-term management. Now, what we do is that we enroll you into our program, and when you're in that program, then we give you support. We become your support system. We have multi-specialties doctors. We also have 24/7 call center where we support you. We also have care programs within it, and therefore we always encourage anyone who has been diagnosed by any long-term condition, then they can enroll into this program. Another thing that we do during this time is that we also help you comply with your medication by ensuring that we deliver your meds to you at your doorstep. And again, also managing your benefits so then we negotiate for you drugs at cost-effective prices. So that is just overview. If you would like to join us into that program, we are going to be putting in the contacts and how to join in the chat box. The other program that I would want to talk about is our Moms Club, a very exciting program that we have. And this is walking with you through this thrilling journey of motherhood. This program is for all women from preconception, conception, and post-conception, or when you're trying to conceive. We have a community of over 400 ladies in the group. It is an online group. And what we do there is that we give a lot of support and a lot of specialized care and education to all our mothers. Again, we are happy to have you on board. You do not have to be an APM member. You can be an APM member or a non-APM member, because for us is to ensure that we impact the society and to ensure that our members, all mothers, can be able to access all the information that they need during and even after, before, during, and after pregnancy. So welcome into the program as well. We are going to also put the link in the chat box as we continue, so that if you're interested, you can also join. These are just some of the activities we have done. We even have meetups with the moms. We have doctors in the group who talk to us about our daily concerns, and we have specialists like nutritionists in the group that also talk to us about those. For those who are in the program, they already know what has been going on in the group. Another program I would want to cite is the APA Pharmacy First. APA Pharmacy First program is a program that helps us to bring convenience to you when you have any acute illness. We are saying that you do not need to spend a lot of time queuing, whilst you can access the medication at your nearest pharmacy. So what you're saying is that for those over-the-counter medications for just minor ailments, you can access those medications at any of the pharmacies listed below. The last item I would want to talk about is on mental wellness. We also have an interest to ensure that you're in the right state of mind to be able to carry on your duties, and therefore we have partnered with several partners to help us in telecounseling. We do not, if you feel that you do not have time to go visit a therapist, we have also made it easy for you. You can make a call to any of our therapists that we list here, and you can access telecounseling services and get the support that you need. So therefore, these are the programs that we run here at APA, and we are always looking to meet the needs of our clients, and also in the healthcare space whenever we find a need, and we create programs to support that. So thank you very much for again joining. In case you have any queries around the programs, you can also just ask in the chat box, and we will be able to answer you. So without any further ado, I would want to give it back to Zainab so that we can invite the doctor, who is one of the main reasons why we are here today.
Thank you so much, Jemima, for giving us a reason to join APA Insurance and the wellness programs. Now, as Daktari, as I introduce you, kindly be sharing your slides. I think Jemima has pulled out hers. Now, once again, we want to welcome you to APA Insurance. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Leonard Ngunga. He's a distinguished assistant professor at the Aga Khan University Hospital, specialized in adult cardiology and intervention cardiology. With his impressive education and training, Dr. Ngunga is a leading expert in his field, and he has a lot of experience. He has a passion and is committed to improving cardiac care in this country. And why is he the best? Dr. Ngunga has a passion in improving cardiac care in Kenya and is committed to education and research, making him a standout in his field. He has played a lot of crucial role in establishing the cardiac care unit at the Aga Khan University Hospital, which has become a hub for cardiac care in the region. Dr. Ngunga has also served as the Assistant Secretary of the Kenya Cardiac Society and Chair of the Endocardiography Task Force. Apart from that, his specialties and what he loves most is reversing cardiac arrests, cardiac attacks, and he's best at his job. So karibu sana, Dr. Leonard Ngunga. We are ready actually to hear you improve our hearts.
Thank you, Zainab, and once again, thank you to the entire team which has joined today's meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is bring some highlights about what we do in the hospital, and sometimes what the patients can do even before they come to the hospital, because sometimes we are not everything. There's a lot sometimes the patient can do even before seeing the doctor. So our job is to kind of work with patients, encourage them, and see how much they can do on their own, because indeed there's a lot people can do to improve their heart health long before the doctor checks in. So as Zainab has described, my name is Dr. Ngunga. I'm a cardiologist. I've been playing this trade for more than, it's amazing, maybe 10, 12 years. And I'm really excited. This is the hospital where I work. You can see that beautiful view at night. That's the Heart and Cancer Center on the background over there. That's where I work from. So talking about the heart, this is a nice snapshot. Usually the size of your heart is the size of your wrist. If you put up your wrist like this, many of the time that's the size of your heart. So if you want to have an idea how, and it's that small organ that keeps you going for your life, because it's the heart starts beating at 6 weeks intrauterine life, and it continues. It does not rest. If it rests, then the patient also rests. So you can imagine that small organ is like the engine that keeps the body moving. And the reason why it gives a lot of work, as you realize, is because it works every single minute, every single hour, every single second. If it stops working, then everything changes. And it's probably because of working so hard that it's also prone to a lot of injuries. Any small dysfunction or small abnormality in the heart is likely to cause you to find your way to the hospital or to somebody to figure out what is going on. So among the common things that we treat in the hospital are heart attacks, and this is a nice pictorial, a nice cartoon to show you how the heart artery looks like. I'll just get some pointers from here. Let me see if I can find one. Let's see. I need to get a pointer from here. Can I find one? Yes, laser pointer. So if you look at this, when you talk of a heart attack, it means one of the arteries blocks. And usually it blocks because usually this is the story of more than 95, 99% of the cases. You get cholesterol. Cholesterol is the blue stuff, the green stuff that you are seeing here. Then the red is clot. Whenever that clot blocks the artery, the part downstream loses blood supply and that part dies, okay? Whenever the heart muscle dies, unfortunately, we don't have any pill or any injection that can revive the dead heart muscle. Lots of studies have been done, including injecting all manner of molecules to revive heart muscle, but none has been effective. So when the heart muscle dies, then if that cycle keeps repeating itself, then the heart muscle dies, and that is how the heart fails. We call it heart failure eventually. So multiple small episodes of blood clots and heart attacks cause the heart muscle to die. And that's not a good thing, because if it dies, then it means a patient have to be on more complex treatment to treat this failing heart. So a heart attack basically means a blocked heart artery and a dead heart muscle, and our job is basically to, whenever people get heart attacks, the idea is a race against time to treat this particular scenario. So we have to work very hard to open up that artery before that heart muscle dies completely, because if it does, then you cannot revive it. Sometimes that's what keeps us going in this hospital day and night. The same applies for a stroke, okay? There are two types of strokes. Whenever you see a patient, you hear somebody has a stroke, there are two types. One is like a heart attack, okay? So you have a blocked, you have a cholesterol in the heart artery, then a clot comes and blocks it. When it blocks it, again, the brain is just like the heart. The artery is the last artery on that particular part of the brain. So that part of the brain which is applied by that artery block dies off. Again, we don't have many medicines to revive these dead cells. Again, a big challenge. So if it dies off, then that's it. You lose function on that part of the brain. That's why you see some people who are paralyzed, for example, who cannot talk, because that part of the brain that is applying the body is dead. The other type of stroke is called a ruptured blood vessel. When the blood pressure is very, very high for many years, the wall of the blood vessel thins away, and it forms a weak segment, and that weak segment sometimes tears off and bleeds. Whenever it bleeds, the blood puts pressure on the brain, and again, this is another big problem, because if that happens, again, that part of the brain gets injured, the part of the brain where the rupture has taken place also lacks blood and it dies off. So all these are two different types of stroke. One, we call it a blockage. The other one is a bleed. Generally speaking, the one which is commoner is a blocked heart arteries, whereas the bleeding one is the less common one, okay? The bleeding one is commonly caused by severe uncontrolled hypertension, whereas the other one is caused by long-standing hypertension in addition to other problems, for example, such as cholesterol, such as diabetes. That's how patients end up getting stroke. Those are not treated. The chief driver of stroke, for your information, is high blood pressure. I'll show a few slides about that. Blood pressure independently contributes to a very, very large number of strokes. So, and that's why whenever you come to the hospital, the doctors are usually very strict when telling you, take your medicine every day, make sure that BP is normal, that kind of thing. So looking at this chart here, this is an important chart. What causes death? To many people, really, the thing they don't want is to do that man on the left there, kicking the bucket. And the purpose of doctors and their interventions, medications, procedures, whatever it is really to prevent death. So if you know what is causing these problems, then at least you can know where to direct your attention to, okay? This chart here is a chart which is showing us the things which contribute to death, not in rich countries, but in poor countries. This is we are called low and middle income countries. The chart in the red is the year 2015. The chart in blue tells you how things will move out in the next 5 years. We are approaching 2030, and this is exactly what we are seeing. So deaths per 100,000 population, the number one cause of problems, as you can see, ischemic heart disease, means blocked heart arteries. And you will not believe it. Sometimes I ask patients or doctors, what is the commonest presentation of ischemic heart disease? Ischemic heart disease means that story of blocked heart arteries. It means the blood is blocked, the blood vessel is blocked, and that segment is called ischemic heart disease as our medical term. The commonest presentation is sudden death. Many of these guys, more than half, don't check into the hospital. They die in their houses or whatever. So as you realize, it's a very big issue. So you may ask yourself, oh, where are these patients? And actually half of them never make it to the hospital because they die of sudden death before they reach the hospital. And that's the biggest group. And you can see stroke follows very, very closely there. Stroke occurring in young and old people. And then the rest, you can see them listed there: lung disease, infections, diabetes on its own, and a lot of other problems, as you can see them listed there. So it is true, what we call non-communicable diseases, in particular ischemic heart disease, stroke, and lung disease, are the biggest problems which cause death in a lot of people in the low and middle income countries. So sometimes we know our country is a country of serious people. These are our athletes, and every time there's a marathon somewhere in the world, in New York, London, you'll hear a Kenyan commonly winning. And this is really what we are. We are really, really athletic people, strong people. And this is what we all aspire to be. But we can't be like this guy. We'll probably be chasing him behind there, maybe an hour or two behind. And this is really what we endeavor to be. Unfortunately, we do have these guys as well. And this is not a good thing. So we have the full spectrum of people ranging from here all the way up to here. And we want to be close to these guys. So I want you to ask yourself, where do you belong? Okay. And this is where it all starts. You sometimes see some people cycling to work, and if you are a driver, they are probably a bother, and you are like, get out of my way. You can get injured, you can get knocked. So some of you may be in the business of designing roads. So instead of chasing these guys away, think of how they can get places to ride their bicycles and do what they like, getting to work. There's another very large group which uses the matrix there on the top right. And then there's a large number of people getting their way to work over here. You see them every day. And then this is most likely me and you getting our way to work. If you are to be asked, who of these people is the healthiest? If you are to if it were to be asked. I can tell you for certain, number one, there are many factors at play, but if you look at mobility on his own, the guy walking is unfortunately the luckiest. He may have a lot of hazards to him, but this man is less likely to come to the hospital with what we call cardiovascular disease, because walking has been shown to be one of the major drivers of reduction in heart disease. So if you walk, for example, some people keep talking about the number of steps you can walk in a day, and there's a myth of 10,000. So it's actually a myth, yeah. So people keep talking of 10,000. The scientific number is probably 8,000, okay? So if you can just keep walking and give yourself a target. And I'm saying this because a lot of the people in the audience here are office workers like me. We sit down the whole day. But sitting is a new smoking, if I can use that word, because sitting has been shown to actually contribute a lot to heart problems, in contrast to walking, where just the act of walking, the muscles themselves increase metabolism, they increase what we call insulin sensitivity, they improve basically metabolism and excretion of waste. So walking by itself, even if it's not high intensity. So there are several ways of walking. You can walk what we call routine walk or a high intensity walk. The one which is most effective is the high intensity walk, where you walk and you feel you are sweating and breathing. That's a better one. If you can't, even the normal walking is better than nothing. So that's a point I had to put across. So if everything else is put constant, the walker on the left bottom corner is best in terms of cardiovascular health, followed by the cyclist who is over there. Cycling uses more muscle, but it's less effective than walking, because walking you use both your hands and feet, and that's what engages more muscle. And then the rest of the two here are in the same bracket, the man in the matatu and the man in the vehicle. In this, the worst, who I have not put here, is a boda rider. Boda rider is the worst of them all. I have not put him here. Okay, so where are you? I am sure you belong somewhere. Sometimes you may find yourself using the 4 methods which have been shown here. Okay, so walking is good, cycling is good, and sometimes you need your car and your number 3 to get to your work easily. So you have to figure out how to share out your time between those 4 activities. This is me. Actually, this you can see me there. Can you see me, that man with a helmet there? This is called a tandem bicycle. Sometimes I find myself in foreign cities, and this tandem bicycle, because I like riding, you can see my wife there. She does not know how to ride. So because she does not know, I have to assist her. So in the process of assisting, I end up riding more. So this is cycling myself. So these are activities which can help you increase your body physical activity, as you are helping others as well, including your children. Because the moment they learn these activities are important, they'll carry them forth in their later life. So this is very, very important. Teach yourself how to cycle. Teach your children how to cycle. Fight for those spaces, because if you don't fight for those spaces, people will take them. But if you fight for those spaces, they'll be made available for you. So it is our job to fight for those spaces wherever you find them. And because they will keep you away from the hospital. So fight for cycling spaces in our cities, wherever you live, and you'll find yourself having a more healthy life than just being happy to be driving your car everywhere. So causes of heart disease and stroke, I've identified five issues here. The number one driver of heart disease in the world is smoking for the longest number of years. A lot of efforts have been put to reduce smoking, and I can tell you the Kenya Cardio Society, I was an official for Kenya Cardio Society for several years. I still am, but I don't do a lot of admin work at the moment. So we had a bill. If you walk around many shops now, you will never see cigarettes. This is because of a campaign more than 10 years by the cardiologists in this country to introduce something called a Tobacco Control Act. It was enacted, I think the year was 2016 or 2017, 2016. Since that time, you can never see any cigarette in any shop. Why? Because we have to reduce the number of new smokers. Smoking is a chief driver of heart disease, stroke, and lung disease, what we call non-communicable disease. So the amount of smoking has reduced in our communities. Although there are new stories of people smoking other things lately, but it is true cigarette smoking has reduced. There's vaping, which is, but vaping is much less because these are much more expensive forms of cigarettes compared to the traditional cigarettes. The next one is a heredity. Heredity, unfortunately, is something that we create. If I ask some of you, you will find that it is true we may have the blood pressure and diabetes and heart disease, and our parents never had these things. So there's something we call in science genetic drift. That means even if your parents never had these diseases, we create them. So the gene develops along the way. And so you didn't have, your father developed hypertension at the age of 70, but slowly but surely you get your diabetes around 50 or 40 years. And if nothing is done, your child will develop diabetes at the age of 30. That's we call it a genetic drift. You are making how the gene interact with the environment. It starts declaring itself much earlier in life. And this is really what we are trying to avoid. So heredity is a real thing. And heredity is not a straightforward one saying, oh, my family, no one has diabetes. If you don't do anything, it can actually occur in you. And that gene now tends to get more active in an earlier stage in life. Age is an important cause. As we age, the more these conditions come into play. So in as much as you've enjoyed good health in your 40s, sometimes when you start reaching your 50s, 60s, you have to start paying attention because there are many other factors that play. So you have to pay attention to what is going on. Inactive lifestyle is just what I mentioned. Sitting down is the new smoking. So once tobacco was reduced, we have transitioned to this. And the risk, someone did a very nice paper showed that the risk that accrues from sitting is almost as much as the risk that comes out of tobacco as far as cardiovascular disease is concerned. And the other one is called obesity, largely caused by a sedentary lifestyle. So it is true, these are the 5 major contributors of heart disease. Going back to what we talked about, if you look at the diseases which contribute to death, and this looks like funny. If just look at blood pressure, sometimes you think what kills most people is road traffic accidents. You think it is HIV/AIDS, but the answer is not true. The biggest cause of death in the world today, this is again, poor income countries. High blood pressure is number 1. Yeah, you cannot underestimate the blood pressure causes, number 1, as I showed, stroke. It causes heart attacks. It causes bleeds in the brain. It causes kidney failure. And the single most important thing. And that's why whenever you come to the hospital, people just tell you, just take your medicine, because if you treat high blood pressure, you can actually reduce deaths by a very large margin. I've seen people in my clinic who have used blood pressure medicine for more than 40 years. And this is why they have used them for 40 years, because they have used them consistently. They have not stopped. If you take and you stop, then the effects of blood pressure come into play much earlier, and people get into complications. And once you get a stroke, for example, people don't live for very long, usually 5-10 years, and the day of the complication. Look at the high blood glucose level, physical inactivity coming up pretty strongly, overweight and obesity, high cholesterol level, and safe sex coming strongly, and that's the way we're talking about infections, alcohol use, and the childhood underweight. Some of us are suffering because of problems which are not ours, brought about by wherever you were born. So childhood underweight has an important influence on how the body handles glucose, for example. Such that now when people start eating well, they are not able to handle the glucose load. And therefore you have new onset of diabetes, for example, in some people who don't expect to have diabetes. So problems that you cannot do anything about. So this is important consideration. So I'll go to the next slide here. Heart attack, signs and symptoms. This is important because we've been struggling for years to reduce the time from when people get symptoms to the time when they come to the hospital. And it's the biggest time to beat. That means when patients develop symptoms in their houses, for example, you may feel some chest pain or chest tightness, or you may feel funny. The thing is that the core symptoms for heart attack is chest pain, okay? Over and above chest pain, the next most important one is shortness of breath. People may get a cold sweat, nausea, vomiting, a feeling of dizziness, anxiety. But the key thing is chest pain or chest pressure, sitting right in the middle there. That's the most important. Pain on the side Could be heart attack, but the most important is chain right in the middle there, which feels like something sitting in your chest, like an elephant on your chest. That's the most important pain. And usually accompanied by a cold sweat. Usually, if you feel that, then it's very, very likely to be a heart attack. And if you come to the hospital early, within hours, usually we can treat you, and actually some of these patients can go back home early. But if patients come late, then they develop complications which are even more difficult to treat. We have had patients who come to the hospital so early, they go back within two or 3 days, and they never have any complications from the heart attack. So early presentation is key. You better come to the hospital, spend 4 hours, they tell you there's nothing, and you go back home, than coming here after 2 days with all manner of complications, which are treated for lifelong. All right. Heart attack treatment in our hospital, what do we do? When people come very early, we give them what we call clot busters. We give you a medicine through the vein, and that opens up the artery within a few minutes. If that does not work, then we go in and we put special stents that keep the artery patterned, and we remove the clot. And a few patients whose disease is very complex, then they require new arteries through something we call bypass. Bypass is a term which simply means you bypass the blockage. That means you put a new artery or a vein to bypass the blockage. And that's what it's called bypass surgery. It has been done since the 1960s. So another important symptom which is important, again, this information is important, not to you as a patient, but also as a caregiver. If you notice someone with a stroke, what you do can help save lives. And that's why we have this acronym called Be Fast. Be Fast means if it's someone who is feeling dizzy and is not feeling okay, and they may fall down, they may look like they are about to fall down, that's an important someone who may be getting a stroke. You look at the eyes, you find the eyes are not equal, or they are not well balanced, blurring of vision. You look at their face, and you find it's not symmetrical. You look at the hand, lift up your hand, you find one hand is weaker than the other. The speech is abnormal. The next thing is time. Time, you call the ambulance immediately. That's why you talk about being fast. So the key is to look at their, just looking at the face, looking at the strength and the speech, and balance and eyes. Because sometimes that's what the patient complains about, just complaining of dizziness and the eyes, I cannot see. So the next thing is time. You want this patient to be in the hospital within the hour. Because they come within the hour, then you can actually be able to treat that artery which is blocked and actually prevent weakness in that hand. That hand weakness which you have seen can actually be reversed if you treat that patient within an hour to 3 hours when they come with a stroke. Stroke management, this is a very good example of why we are talking about the hour. Look at this. Within 10 minutes, this is the red part of the brain. This is the red means the part of the brain which is affected. Some of the red are already irreversibly lost. If you lose a small segment like this, then you can probably survive. It controls a small part of, sometimes you can be lucky, it could be the part of the hand which is affected. Within the hour, you can see that increases almost times 5 times, okay? Within 3 hours, most of that part of that of the brain is affected, and you can see that it's almost 3/4. And within 6 hours, basically it has turned out red. That means it is very, very unlikely you can reverse the changes. So heart attack and brain disease, which is a stroke, whenever they happen in the race against time. And this is where this is the time which I was talking about. It has been the most difficult time to reduce, because many times patients waste time at home when they come to the hospital is very late. So in as much as Ngunga wants to do it within the hour, for example, which is what we do in our hospital, we treat a heart attack within the hour. You find that hour may not be so useful because the time wasted at home is much more than that. So prevention is key. As healthcare professionals, we pay attention to this pyramid. This pyramid is not difficult for you to understand. At the bottom, we have what we call primary prevention. And you can see on the left there, this is what we call the well population. These are people who are normal, just like all of us here. There's no disease, everything is okay. This is called health promotion and addressing risk factors, social and genetic factors. We talk about the cycling business. These are social factors which affect disease, because if you don't do this, then people will not be able to use their bicycle safely, for example. Secondary prevention means people have already developed a complication, okay? For example, hypertension, they have already developed a stroke, That means you have to do something very, very, very early. And then there is the group which we call tertiary prevention, people with a health problem. Here now we are preventing death basically. So we are doing rehabilitation, preventing complication and improving quality of life. So everything has changed from just treating this people to improving quality of life, preventing, if you have had a stroke, for example, we are trying to prevent infections, for example. Rehabilitation means we are trying to get it to speak again. So the money belongs to the group called primary prevention. That's where the value is. And the value keeps reducing as you go up that pyramid. So people like APA, for example, when you are doing primary prevention, every coin you spend is going to be valuable to the system, because it actually also saves you money, because if you prevent the cost of treating a heart attack in this hospital is probably more than $1 million bob. A stroke is probably $2 million bob. And it will spend, I tell patients sometimes, you will take medicine for 10 years before you can finish your 1 million shillings. And the same applies for stroke. You take medicine for 20 years before you can probably finish that money. So it's probably big value for money, for example. So how to prevent heart attacks? Daily exercise. I talked about my 10,000 steps or 8,000 steps. As I said, the medical number is 8. Exercise daily, maintain a healthy weight, avoid smoking. We've put a lot of attention to that. Check your blood pressure, check your sugar. And unfortunately, this test, there is no, you have to do a test. For example, blood pressure, you must have a machine. We maybe in the future we'll have a different way of doing it, but at the moment we are limited by technology. So you need a machine to measure your blood pressure, and for the blood sugar, you need a blood test, so as a cholesterol. So those blood tests are available in our hospital. Our hospital does engage in a lot of screening practices, because it is by engaging the people that you can actually, that's where the value of the money is. We, as a hospital, we know that it is true. If we can prevent disease, is a good thing, because nonetheless, there is still a lot of medical need out there, and the money can be directed to other more needy areas. And by doing so, you can actually prevent heart attacks and the strokes. Salt. Some of you keep wondering why we keep talking about blood pressure, and this is a chief driver. When I was a young man, I still remember going for the nyamachoma joints. And I can tell you that these men do not know how to make meat, because depending on where you go. So salt is actually used to make the meat tasty, okay? And the process, you end up eating a lot of salt, which just spoils your very nice nyamachoma. So you really have to avoid meat, which is tenderized with salt. But indeed, people should use other spices to make their meat good. But if salt is the way to go, then this is where the trouble begins, because salt is a chief driver of hypertension. Sometimes people blame the nyamachoma, but the nyamachoma is not the problem. The problem is this salt, which is kept here. And that is what changes your meat from very nice meat to meat, which is causing you disease. Okay, talk about French fries. French fries are another good food that is used every day. In the most common food which is going to be eaten in Nairobi are going to be French fries. This is 20 years ago. This is today. People, I remember we used to complain when the number of chips we are given is little. Look at the caloric intake between the number of chips we are seeing on the left. This is a small box. This is a large box. The difference, this one gives you 610 calories. This one gives you 200 calories. The difference is 400 calories. To burn 400 calories for some of you who like walking, just a normal walk, it takes you approximately 2 hours, 20 minutes. So it just tells you the more chips you eat, the more walking you have to do. So it's up to you to make a choice, whether you want to eat the 200 calorie meal or you want to take the big meal. So the bigger meal you take, it means you have to take a bigger walk. So it's a very good analogy of deciding how much do you want to walk for that particular day to burn your 20 calories. If you have a lot of time, you can actually take the big chips and get yourself walking the whole day. This diagram here represents the good food. If you look at that picture, you can keep this picture and carry it wherever you want to go. The food which is shown there, you can see the dried grapes, or tomatoes, avocados, the pomegranate, you can see the salmon, apples, whatever you are seeing in that picture, and nuts, olives, is really what bananas. You can see why the villagers keep beating you all the time when it comes to heart health, because their bananas are freely available in the villages. You can see pumpkin there, you can see celery on the left. This is really what you must eat one of these foods at least every day, okay? Because this is what constitutes heart health. And the fruits and the vegetables are available in all parts of the world. You don't have to kill yourself looking for fruits that aren't available in your region, because really God gave every community something wherever they live or wherever they are. So whatever fruits are available in your community, that is what you need to take. And it is true, nuts are part and parcel of the good foods. Some of these are not available in every part of the world, but wherever you live, fruits and vegetables, whatever is available in that particular area, that's what you should be eating. And they should not be eaten like once in a week. It is every single day. You must have a serving of fruit and vegetables. The number given in the book is at least 3 to 4 servings a day of fruits and vegetables. In contrast to what we all eat, you all want to eat every day. I don't know where this issue of mandazi came from. All offices, you find lunch hour, people are eating mandazi. Over lunch hour, you should be eating olives, you should be eating bananas, you should be eating some fruits, but I don't know, but it takes many years before this culture changes, as you realize, in our communities. Okay, so let us change our lifestyles right from the office to the home by giving our workers not mandazis, but fruits during their break times. This will improve their cardiovascular health. Sometimes we tell people to walk, and in some cultures, a dog is a very useful tool to improve people's walking. So they just get the dog to walk, and then they can stay on their WhatsApp and it'll catch up on their latest messages. Please, if it is walking, make it a walk, and don't let the dog do the walking for you, as you can see this man is trying to accomplish. All right. There's always today is Friday, and many people will be asking themselves, how much beer should I take? And this is a common habit. Again, habits are difficult to break. So people will work very hard throughout the week, and then they wait until the evening, and they take all their beer for the week. These are very good charts telling us that if you look at the risk of developing heart disease, generally speaking, we want to avoid the risk of getting heart disease does increase as the number of beers increase. So generally speaking, people are advised to reduce the number of drinks to not more than 2 to 3 drinks in a day. All right, that's to reduce the risk of heart disease. Generally, red wine is found to be the safest form of alcohol, just for some reason. But overall, the narrative on alcohol is kind of all negative in terms of heart disease, because as the number of drinks increase, this is a chart showing us that the number of days per week of alcohol consumed. So that if you drink less than 1 drink a day, 1 to 2 drinks a day, and more than 2 drinks a day. So the number is probably around 1 and 2, and people should not drink anything more than that. So as you drink more, the number of alcohol does damage a lot of other things in the body, including heart problems. It's something we call alcohol-related cardiomyopathy. People who take a lot of beer and the heart gets affected. And sometimes the only thing we do is to stop the alcohol, and the heart improves, in addition to medications. There's a very nice graph here. Sometimes the things which are simple are unfortunately the most difficult. For example, if you are a smoker and you are trying to quit smoking, that's a very difficult thing. So the best thing is never to start in the first place. So that changes from stop smoking to don't start smoking. And you tell that to your family, your children, everybody who you are interested in. So it looks easy, but it's very difficult to stop if you have started. Eat better. Again, these are habits that you acquire over time. It means you eat more fruit and vegetables. Lose weight, again, the earlier you lose weight, the easier it is to maintain it. If you try to lose it later in life, it becomes more difficult. Control cholesterol, that means you measure it and see where you belong and work on ways on reducing it. Get active. We talked about walking 8,000 steps. You can make it more active. The number is 150 minutes a week. Reduce the blood sugar and manage blood pressure. So some of these things, you have to do them more active. For example, blood pressure, you have to measure, because sometimes you think everything is okay until you actually measure and find, oh, my BP is high, despite my being active, being walking. So you have to take medications. So I've seen some people trying to control the blood pressure by running the whole day, and the only thing, the result of that is getting a stroke. Because if you run and the BP is 180, then the BP will go up and you get a stroke. That's not a good thing. So if your BP is high and you'll be doing the right things, go to the doctor, he'll do a few tests. Many of the times you may not find anything, and if it is high, you have to take medication, because you don't say, I'm going to exercise until this blood pressure becomes normal, because that's not going to work. The same applies for blood sugar. Blood sugar can actually be reversed to a large extent if people change a lot of things. But if it is very high, once again, patients have to take medications, all right? There's something, if you look at these life 7 choices, they look easy, but the most important one, I'm going to show it here, and I hope you are able to see it. This is known as mental health, okay? If you want the highest return on your investment and something that is going to improve all these things, it is called, so you can earn a lot of money from bonds, stocks, you can earn a lot of money from learning. If you're an accountant, you can earn a lot of money. If you're a doctor, you can earn a lot of money from being a doctor. But the thing which will give you the most satisfaction is your mental health. And I just saw a clip coming from the presentation done by my colleague earlier about the APA insurance providing avenues for mental health. So do not ignore. In fact, it's becoming more and more of an issue. That's like that sometimes you have actually to ask yourself, how good is your mental health? Because you want to invest in it. If you don't invest in it, then the other things become an issue. For example, it may be more difficult to get active. It may be more difficult to lose weight. It may be more difficult to choose what you are going to eat. If your mental health is improving, the rest of the things are likely to improve. So the single largest investment, because it works on the rest of the things over there. What are we doing in Aga Khan to improve heart disease? I can tell you, we do have dozens of clinics which can help you. Do not be shy of visiting us. We have a lipid clinic, a special clinic that takes care of lipid problems. You are going to see more and more lipid problems. There'll be more in your children than yourself. I can tell you that for free. You'll be shocked how high the cholesterol in your children is because, number one, you didn't expose them to the correct food choices, and they have lived in a different environment from yours, so that's going to come up. Diabetes clinic, which teaches people diet. Heart clinic, where we treat all manner of heart conditions, including hypertension, simple and complex. And wellness checks. Wellness checks are important clinics, and I'm happy APA is partnering with hospitals like us. They can't even do it themselves, again, to make people diagnose themselves long before they come to the hospital. Our hospital has all manner of accreditations. They call the Joint Commission accreditation. And what these accreditations help us to do is that they put us under some kind of strict rules that we have to adhere to. For example, if we are treating a heart attack, we have to do it within the hour. If it is stroke, it has to be done within the hour. So whatever needs to be done has to be done for that patient, because by doing so, you actually save this patient's heart and you save their brain. And this is what really we want. You don't want to do this thing when they are very late and you don't get the benefit. Walk Your Heart initiative, you will find us walking every Tuesday after work, 5 p.m., trying to accomplish to practice for those who probably have missed for most of the week. Sometimes it's the only thing some people are able to do. And there's something else which I have not shown there. It's called mental health. So we actually also have staff opportunities for staff and our patients to assess mental health, counseling, and whatever else they need in our hospital. I think the mental health for our staff is actually free, and they're actually given 1 day a week when they can go and see our counselors and people. But some of the initiatives, such as walking, also provide avenues for people to undergo some of these things for free when they meet their colleagues, talk about their issues at their work. Those are important initiatives for different organizations. What can we offer? We offer a one-stop shop because in our hospital, if it is talking of losing weight, mental health, everything we have it here. We have ambulatory clinics for treating blood pressure, nurse-led clinics for treating complex blood disorders, cardiology service. We have 5 cardiologists. Anytime you come here, you'll be seen by somebody 24 hours. We have diagnostic abilities in our lab, radiology, dedicated heart unit, cath lab services, device clinics for treating complex heart diseases. So this is an example of a patient who has a complex device because of a weak heart, for example. Because I told you, when the heart gets weak, then we kind of have to do everything to get better. And sometimes you have to use machines to do that. I think I will stop there, Stanley, but I'm sure I have a lot of questions from the team over here, from APA and whoever else has attended. So I'm happy to take questions through the Q&A system. I think Zainab will coordinate that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daktari.
Over to you, Jemima.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that informative talk. I will just go direct to the questions we have. One of the questions, Doc, is if one has cholesterol in the arteries, can it be eliminated by the drugs dispensed by doctors?
Yes, very good question. So when you come to the hospital and we check your cholesterol, we usually do a blood test. So the blood test is an indirect assessment of the cholesterol situation in the body, because the cholesterol which gives you problems in the one which is in the heart artery, the one I showed there. So the one which is already in the heart arteries, there is no way of removing it. Okay. So whenever you give medications, it reduces the one in the blood and it stops whatever is already built up in the heart arteries. It stops it, or it reduces the process of progression. So the one which is already embedded, or the one which is stuck in the heart arteries, never comes out.
Thank you, Doc. Another question here is talk about fries' impact on kids.
Talk about?
Fries. The chips.
Rice.
Yes.
Rice as in mchele.
Chips.
Just
The chips.
ask the question
The
again.
fries, the question here is, Daktari, talk about fries' impact on kids.
On
I
teeth.
think on kids, on children.
On children, yes. It's a double whammy. The chips, number one, is carbohydrates. Number two is the fat that is used to make them. That's where the problem is. 2 problems. Number one is a high load of carbohydrates. Number two, the fat. The fat which is used to make chips, they are called polyunsaturated fats. They are very bad fats. Some people call them mafuta ya, is it a transformer or something? I don't know, but I hear the chips sold in the streets are not, they are made with all manner of fat. So those fats are very bad. So it's a double problem. Actually, it's a triple problem. It's a problem of carbohydrates, fats, and the fat is bad because the fat has very bad oxidants, which have been known to cause cancers. So it's a triple problem, if I can use that word. So the chips are bad. If you have to take potatoes, please boil them, or you can bake them, or you can do other things to them. At least you have only the carbohydrate bit, but not. And if you have to use fat, use the correct fats. The ones made in the house, for example, are better than the ones. Chips mwitu, I think that's the name which I was looking for. Chips mwitu, very dangerous.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Another question here is regarding cholesterol. Is chicken healthier than beef or goat meat?
That's correct. Chicken, white meat is better than red meat. That's correct. Although this story is complex, I think different communities grew up with different types of meats. According to the science which we have now, it is true, white meat is better than red meat, but there are some other unknown science about different methods of preparing different meats. So if you go to different communities, meats are prepared differently. And there are many ways of preparing meats, including the chicken and the beef itself, which make them more palatable and less dangerous to our health by removing what we call the antioxidants. So there are different ways of preparing meat, which make them more friendly to the bodies. But generally speaking, also meat is better than carbohydrates. But as I've said again, different communities, for example, if you go to the people who live in the island and the seas, those bodies are probably better positioned at handling seafood compared to animal or red meat, which is found in the inland and the highlands, for example. But these are this is more complex science in the world, which is complex, getting more complex, interconnected. Where you are, whether you are in the small island or you are in the inland, you have access to this. Then more science is required to improve your food preparation and culinary science, which helps to make your food better.
Another one here is what can cause hypotension or low blood pressure?
Yeah, we do have those ones. Those are a lesser problem. Whereas in a while we have people who have no disease and they actually have low blood pressure. Their blood pressure is 90/60, and they live like that. And that one is a lesser problem. They tend to get faint, a little bit more fainting episodes, but it's a better disease than hypertension. They rarely get significant problems. So I'm talking about in the community. In the hospital, that's a different story. In the hospital, when people get serious problems, complications, the blood pressure drops, and that means a life-threatening situation. In contrast to people who live in the community with low blood pressure, the one I've talked about, 90/60 or 80/50, for example, we have those people, and it's a better problem to have.
Thank you, Dr. There's someone who wants to know the benefit of red wine.
Red wine has a lot of things. It has a lot of, they are called antioxidants, sulfates, and it has been found better than the other alcoholic drinks. But again, there's a lot of science about alcohol and alcoholic drinks, which again I'll not go into. On the overall, the latest studies are telling us alcohol should be kept to a minimum for those who like to take their beer. I've mentioned that before.
Thank you, Doc. Are eggs source of high cholesterol? How many are recommended per day or a week?
That person must be a person who likes eggs. Luckily, eggs have been removed from the list of cholesterol-causing agents, so they are lucky. I don't know what's the maximum you can eat. It all depends on how busy you are. There are some, if you are a swimmer if you are a serious swimmer, like he's called Michael Phelps, the man who won lots of gold. He used to take I think 10 or 20 eggs in a day. That means you practice for 5 to 6 hours in a day. If you're an athlete, you can, but if you are a normal person, probably 2. The gradient is big, so it all depends on where you belong.
Asante. How is stress and blood pressure related?
Yes, I talked about mental health. It's not just stress. The correct word is mental health. Mental health encompasses stress and other problems which is psychology. So it is true. Mental health, first of all, it's not even bad, it is independent. If your mental health is bad, everything will go haywire, including clotting problems, stroke problems. Yeah, so it is true. Mental health is key in improving the body health. So it is true. Been found to be an independent predictor of disease, excluding your blood pressure.
Thank you, Daktari. Question has so many here. Let me ask this one.
I
Which
think we
is
are
the
just
best?
about to finish, unfortunately. Now it's 9:08. There's someone waiting for me here already asking when I'm about to finish.
Yes, I'm just giving this one last question, and then maybe the next questions we are going to answer them after this program. Which is the best way to control cholesterol as well as stomach gastric?
As well as?
Stomach gastric.
Gastric ulcers. gastric ulcer is a different disease. I'm not going to talk about that one, but cholesterol is a chief driver of heart disease. Cholesterol is prevented in the same way as you prevent blood pressure and diabetes, and the treatment is the exercise, diet, and again, mental health.
Okay, Doc.
There's a lot of room for medication. If those fail, we do have lots of pills for those patients whose those maneuvers fail, because sometimes it requires medication. We do have lots of different types of medicine to treat cholesterol.
We will combine like the three questions because it's most of these questions are more about nutrition.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a question here about can eliminating wheat minimize can eliminating of wheat products and minimize on the carbohydrate foods
No,
help
you
to
have said correctly. I cannot hear what you are saying.
can one lose weight by minimizing wheat and wheat products?
Yes, you can lose weight because wheat is carbohydrates. Wheat is a major contributor of weight and also inflammation.
All right.
Yeah, different people tolerate different foods differently. Sometimes when you go to the dietitian, they can tell you which foods are not good for you.
Which type of cooking oil is healthy? The solid or the liquid
Solid and
oil?
liquid is not enough. You need foods which are rich in. You need to avoid foods which are atherogenic. Animal fats are the worst. Vegetable oils are good, but there's a very, very big gradient between the good ones and the bad ones. Olive oil is ideal, but there's a very big gradient. So again, it is not all of them. Olive oil is like the ideal, but from there, you have a gradient between which ones change. They keep changing. The cheaper it is, the worse it is. That's just a simple rule. When you go to the shop and you find one is 500 shillings, another one is 100 shillings. The 100 shillings is the worst one.
That's interesting. So we
Yes.
will. This will be the last question, so that then we can release you to see the patients. We have there's a 45-year-old who would like to reverse, asking how can I reverse hypertension while both of my parents are also hypertensive. I'm 45-year-old.
The chances are remote. Yeah. Sometimes when patients want to reverse something, I think the better term should be to have it controlled. The correct term should be, because the parents have hypertension and they're probably old. They are probably lived with it for 20, 30 years. So the best thing is to have it well treated until we do get better medicine. I agree the medicine we have now are not the best, but it's what we have. So the correct term should be controlling your pressure. Controlling means usually medication. As I've said, there are some people who try to control their blood pressure saying, I'm going to exercise until it becomes normal. And instead they get problems, which is not a good thing.
Okay. There's one person here who's saying, just ask my question before you release. Please share on the different blood groups having or a bias for specific meals, e.g., Group O tends to eat meat and AB loves wheat. Is it true?
Yeah, those are complex things which I have seen. I think they come from I don't know. There are some people who do some funny things where you are told to do some test and tell depending on your blood group. These foods are good for you, but that science is not correct. In my whole reading, I have not seen a blood group type, for example, blood pressure, diet. That's not correct. That is more of a fallacy than the truth. We don't have such kind of science. I don't know where it comes from. So people telling you my blood group is O, so take meat. No, that's not correct. In fact, I didn't even feature in my talk here about blood group. I don't know where people get them from.
Right. I think
I think we'll have to stop there.
yes, we need to stop there. We have sent an email where you can post your questions, and we will respond to the questions and send them back to you. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Daktari so very much for spending your 1 hour of your time. I know it's a very expensive opportunity for us here at APA and to all our clients and all the members who joined the webinar. Thank you so much for the very educative session that you have given us. I believe we've all picked something because we need to take care of our hearts, because without our hearts, then I don't think we can function. We'll need to live lives that are more the heart is beating appropriately. And Daktari can be accessed at the Aga Khan Hospital. He's one of the senior cardiologists there. Should there be any need to see the doctor, then you can access him there at the Aga Khan Hospital. Here at APA, we would want to say Asante Sana. Of course, we want to say thank you to our group CEO, Mr. Ashok Shah, who helps us to facilitate such events. And we also want to say thank you to our head of health, David Mumo, and all the other managers who are behind this. Thank you so much. And our co-host Zainab, Eunice, Emily, and even the IT who facilitates us, Mr. Eric Karanja. We appreciate all the people who have made this a success. Thank you so very much. We want to say that we have these webinars every once a month, the last Friday of the month. So look out for the next webinar in the month of March. It is educative, it is free consultation, and you can access this all the time, at least every Friday, the last Friday of the month. So Daktari, asante sana. We are going to release you to see the patients, and also say thank you to Stanley of the wellness team at Aga Khan for facilitating this very successful webinar. Thank you so much. And to everybody, have a good Friday. Happy weekend ahead. Asante.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.